All right.
Ready.
Okay, you guys, everyone good to go here?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Good to
Awesome.
go.
All right. Welcome to Witchpolice Radio. We're trying something a little different today. You know, usually doing these Zoom calls, it's been kind of a one-on-one or, you know, talking to two people. But this is most of a band here, right? I mean, is this the whole band or are we missing someone?
Missing a drummer.
Okay. It's but it's an adventurous attempt here at trying to talk to 4 different people who are kind of in the same place but on separate devices. So we'll see how it goes. It should work, but even despite all that, I'm happy to have you guys on the show because it's been a while. I think the last time we did a Bloodshots episode it's got to be 3 or 4 years ago now. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, a lot of things have happened since then. You know, the band's lineup has changed. You got some exciting news about, you know, signing with a label and new stuff coming out. But before we get into any of that, let's just start by going around kind of the group here and identifying who you are, what you do in the band, and then listeners can put a name to the voice. So, CJ, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm CJ. I yell at people and make noise with a guitar.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who's next?
It looks like you're highlighted green. Introduce yourself, Sam.
I'm Sam. This is my show. Let's just go over to Orvis. You want to introduce yourself here?
I am Orvis. I play lead guitar, and I'm kind of the musical director.
Okay.
Everybody knows their parts.
Yeah.
Cool. And then what about you guys?
All right, I'm Garrett. I play the bass. And I'm Keith. I play guitar.
Awesome. Okay, so like I said, last time you were on the show, it wasn't even the same lineup here, and you know things have definitely changed considerably since then in terms of you know the direction you guys are going, what you have coming out. So, assuming that was 4 years ago, so I didn't look it up to see when it was, but let's just assume it was 4 years ago. What has kind of happened since then? I mean, you know, at that point you had released an EP. You were coming off that award nomination, and you know you were excited about that. And so, what's happened since then? Because I know there's a lot.
Yeah. So we had some lineup changes. We had our old drummer who, you know, sometimes life gets in the way of
Sure.
a hobby, and you know he just couldn't do it anymore. So we parted with him, and we brought in Jared Masters on drums, who is probably elbows deep in a turkey right now. And we added Orvis for his disgusting guitar leads. And me, Keith, and Garrett still going strong, burning it at both ends.
Nice.
You know it.
So, I guess the newest news, right, is that you guys are signed now. You have a label you're working with.
Yeah, we
So how did that happen?
signed with. So since the last time we were on your show, we basically played tirelessly.
Yeah, for sure. You guys
over.
were always playing, yeah.
Yeah, and then out west, out east, and we made some friends in the, whatever scene. And one of the bands that we really hit it off with was an Australian band called the Lazies.
Okay.
And they're pretty big in Canada. They were at the time signed to the same label as us, and you know they kind of were doing a bit of scouting and stuff, and word got back, and I was emailing with the guy who runs the label down in Sydney, and you know, back and forth for a while, and it just you know, a deal came out of it, and we took a good, you know, I don't know, what would you guys say, like a month to mull it over. We had a couple lawyers look at, you know, some stuff. And
Oh, really? Yeah.
And yeah, we just were like, you know what? What else are we going to do with this, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost an interesting thing to do in this day and age. I mean, obviously, you know, every band wants to be signed by someone and have, you know, but so many people are just doing it completely DIY, like you guys were doing before this point. And it almost seems like, you know, for a lot of bands, depending on what style of music you're playing, at what stage of your career you're at, a lot of people, they're not even thinking about that. Like they're just kind of skipping over that label part entirely. So I guess what was kind of the driving decision maker for you guys to go ahead and do that rather than just keep sticking it out on your own? Because like you said, you were touring, you were playing some pretty big shows, and that was all DIY, right?
Yeah, you know, me and Garrett actually had like a conversation back, I guess, because we signed in, what was it, March or something? Just saying, like, maybe we've gotten this thing as far as we're going to get it on our own. We could use a little backing, a little support, and that was a big contributing factor to us signing with it, because
Okay.
it's a lot of work, and especially when it's 2020, you got to be working like 7 jobs right now to stay afloat.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess you guys are in a position too, right? Where, I mean, you're a band that has a very marketable sound. Like you're the type of band that could very easily end up on radio, on mainstream radio, without much, like you wouldn't have to change what you do. I mean, you play. So being signed to a label kind of almost makes more sense for you guys, because you are, I think anyway, and I think it's a good thing that you are very marketable. Like people could easily latch onto your sound, and you're not playing a niche genre where you're playing to potentially 20 people and that's it, because you're doing something weird. Like you guys are, playing, I don't know what you would call it, but fairly straight ahead rock and roll, to the point where I think you can attract a wide audience with it.
Yeah, that's been our hope anyway.
Well, what is this? That's obviously exciting news, and it's good to hear. But what has this pandemic been for you guys? Like, how have you dealt with the kind of being a band where obviously the main moneymaker is playing shows, selling merch, things like that, and there's no shows for anyone? Like, has it been? It's obviously been difficult because it's been difficult for everyone. But how have you guys sort of dealt with that as a group?
We in the spring, I had booked a ton of shows. We had like 2 in Winnipeg, 1 in Brandon, I think in Regina, Saskatoon, Edmonton, maybe 1 more Alberta date. I can't remember it, but I was just booking it, as I went, and I had guarantees from all these shows, and it was looking really good. And then fucking pandemic, who had global pandemic for 2020.
Yeah.
So that canceled all that shit out. And one thing that I really pushed was, merch, trying to sell shirts online and whatever. And I was doing curbside drop-offs and whatever, I was whatever I could do to get some money back in the band account. Try to stay afloat. I know Orvis picked up a ton of shows here, there, wherever he could, to get some money going for himself. And
5 bands.
yeah, it is fucking 5 bands.
Orvis
Are you
is a
seriously in
working
5 bands?
musician.
Probably like 7.
Holy shit! That's
It could be 8 if you needed someone tonight.
right.
That's still early.
It's still early, right? It's only 10 o'clock. You got time. Yeah. But I mean, like, have you guys been able to rehearse and stuff? I mean, before until now, like, have you been able to get together and actually like work on your craft during this time?
We get together in like June or May.
I think it was a couple of months where not too much happened.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then eventually started to, things kind of calmed down a bit. We started to get together again. We did a couple of Facebook Live shows.
Yeah.
We're all right, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we had Power come out after we signed the deal. I guess they were really looking for something to do because the world was shut down. We were looking for something to do, so we just kind of struck made a plan, and they came out to our rehearsal space, and we did a Facebook Live with them. So that was really cool.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was great. It was almost like a show, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Had a couple of beers and had them come out, so that was fun. It was kind of like a show, so it felt good to do that. But
yeah. Well, I've talked to a lot of people on this podcast who have been doing those. The power went out, really? At the Power show?
Yeah.
That's somewhat ironic. Yeah. I was going to say, over the course of doing these interviews over the pandemic, because as you obviously know, I can't do them in person because, this shit is happening. I've had a lot of people talking about these Facebook Live things and that as an option for doing shows. And a lot of people are just burned out on them because a lot of people have been doing them like kind of week after week to just sort of get something happening. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about doing that show when there's not necessarily an audience right in front of you, but you know people are watching? Is it the same vibe, or does it feel kind of off?
It feels off, but it's still playing. Like the whole thing with the world right now is it is what it is, and it's not just for obviously for music, it's for everything. But
Sure.
it, there's a lot of people, rightfully so. There's a lot of complaining and a lot of whatever, but there's still ways to get out there and do things. You just gotta adapt and figure out how to do it for now. Like this isn't forever.
We hope,
yeah. Yeah. No,
Like it was,
fingers crossed.
yeah, it was something fun to do. Like, is it the same as playing a club show or anything like that? No, it isn't. But it was still a good time. So
yeah.
I don't know. We take it like that. So
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
We did a festival that was down in Letellier called
Yes, that was great.
the hell's it called? Bankside Festival.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was a really good live stream show.
A lot of fun.
It was our buddies in Roddy Ladderbrook and the Electric Northern Royals, and our buddies Dead Levy from Saskatchewan, and that one had a lot of views, and it was festival atmosphere still, and that one was kind of cool. It was lit up, so you couldn't really tell that the field was empty, but we had a lot of fun with that one.
Well, I guess with that too, it's like a pro shot full set, right? So you can at least use that as like kind of a calling card when you're trying to book shows for whenever this shit ends, right? You can be like, look at this, here's us live, and it's recent at least, and it's recorded properly, right?
Yeah.
And it kicks
the
fucking
production
ass,
quality was awesome. Like they really took good care of us and everything like that, and it was a lot of fun. Again, not the same as playing to people, but it was still like a really good time. So we take it as it is, right?
Yeah. So obviously no one knows when this is going to end and when I know shows are kind of happening sporadically here and there at some venues, but what is your plan once things get back to some semblance of normal? Do you guys have an idea of what you want to be doing? Like, are you going to go right out and start touring again, or do you want to take it slow, or what are you hoping to do?
Well, we have like one of the things that was really enticing about signing with the label was that they were offering tour support.
Nice.
And that, the guy said, you pump out a single, he's like, if it catches on in Spain or the UK, whatever, he goes, guess where you're going?
Yeah.
So we were pretty fucking excited for that, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully after all of this is said and done, that's still on the table.
Sure.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Until then, we had the idea to record an album, like or an EP even. Originally, they liked our EP that we put out back when, and they were really interested in our back catalog, and they wanted us to do some like revamping of the tunes and make them a little more like for now, and so we actually did go. We went in the studio with our good buddy JP Peters again.
Cool.
And we rewrote one of our old songs, and that single is going to be out November.
Nice.
Already. So that'll be our first single under the label, under Golden Robot Records. So that's kind of what we're doing until then, is just recording singles and releasing singles, really, because I mean, what's the point in anything else, really? Right? Like, let's go record a 12-song album that we can't fucking sell anywhere. Do it.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also the whole, like, the weird reality that, like, singles are for how a lot of people consume music, like, just entirely, right? There's a lot of people out there who they're not going to buy an album. They're just going to buy the song they want, or Spotify the song they want, or whatever. And that's, it's so strange. It's I'm too old to understand it, but it's the way of the world now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is strange. I don't like it.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like, how you mentioned earlier, if you guys say you hit in Spain or hit in the UK or whatever, that's where you want to go. That makes complete sense. But have you had like, do you have audiences elsewhere, just based on the fact that your music's been online and people from anywhere in the world can check you out? Do you know, have you had feedback from people in other countries or other parts of Canada even, or the States that have been into your stuff?
Yeah, when we put that EP up digitally,
Yeah.
about whatever it was, like you said, 4 years ago or something.
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, who's counting anymore?
Yeah. Time doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We started getting a lot of feedback. There was France.
Okay.
We got a few messages from France, Australia, which is kind of ironic because that's where the label is.
Yeah.
There was a guy in Switzerland that was like sending me videos of him playing our tune in his shop. He had some kind of like auto body shop or something. I was like, oh, right on, man. Couldn't understand a word he was saying, but I was like, right on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got a little bit of some feedback from other parts. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, that is cool. What do you think? I mean, I don't know if I asked you this last time. It's been a few years, so whatever, I'll ask it again. But like, who do you think your audience is for this? I mean, are you going for as wide an audience as possible, or do you have someone in mind, like, as far as what kind of sounds they're into that would be into your stuff, or are you trying to make it as palatable to, like, big tent kind of rock audience?
Whoever likes rock and roll, really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that idea where we tailor music to a specific audience or demographic or anything like that. It's just kind of play music we like and bang, crash, rock and roll, and
any listener that wants to like it.
Yeah, and anybody who likes rock and roll, really. So
yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, that's the best way to get the largest possible listenership, right? And the one thing I appreciate about you guys too is that there's a lot of bands doing that bang, crash, rock and roll stuff, but a lot of them are just like playing just shitty butt rock. Like you guys are at least actually good. Like whatever it is you're putting into that kind of straight ahead rock and roll, whatever other influences are going in there. I think anyway, as someone who doesn't typically listen to that kind of straight ahead stuff, I like what you're doing. There's obviously some grunge stuff coming in there, and there's some other things floating around, and it's coalescing into something that is kind of like mainstream but also unique, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Fucking motion light went off. There we go. Yeah, we definitely all bring our influences together, and it's we start rehearsing, we start with a riff or whatever, or a beat, and it just turns into Bloodshots right away. It's not like we try to make it sound like that, it just does.
Yeah.
So
that's well, you've been at this for a long time, right? Like, how long has the band in some form or another been around?
2013.
Okay, so it's long enough to definitely have developed, one would hope anyway, developed your own style and your own sound and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as far as kind of new stuff, like, with people who've heard the old EP, how different does the stuff you're working on now sound? Like, is it still very much in the same vein, or with time and with lineup changes and stuff, has it changed noticeably? Like, to you guys as the musicians?
With the new stuff, it's a lot more melodic, I think, because we've got 5 guys, and we all kind of know what we're bringing to it. Like, if you heard some of the songs that we've been writing, like there's one called San Francisco, I think. That's very far from the first EP.
a lot more going on.
Yeah. The original songs we had were very just, catchy riff, driven, and attention grabbing. But when we added, even with the new drummer, like, he just brought like a different style.
Okay.
And, you could feel it right away. He just had like different groove with different things we were doing, but it still stuck with our main sound. And then adding Orvis was just took it to the next level. Like, me and Orvis have actually been playing in bands longer than Bloodshots have been around. So
cool.
we have this chemistry naturally, and I've always wanted to have him be a part of the band one way or another. So when I had a chance to add him, it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
And he's one of my favorite guitar players. So he's in my band, so that's cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
It makes it more like there's more layered to it too now that there's 5, and with like Orvis's leads, it's more sophisticated. There's a lot more kind of going on with it. So that has kind of definitely changed from the first EP, where it's just kind of like it was pretty basic when you listen to it. Bass, drums, guitars.
The singing has gone, like the singing's gone higher. Like we can harmonize with each other.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't have to.
Give us kind of band around it, like gang vocals.
Yeah. Cool. Some major wind noises going on there. So
maybe I can.
No, it's cool. So it's good. It's good. It'll work out. So like you mentioned earlier, like there's more going on now in this stuff. Is it more technically complex, or is it just more kind of layered? Like I know you said layered earlier as sort of a way to describe it, but in terms of the actual playing, is it more complicated? Is it more involved, or is it just that there's more people doing more on top of each other?
Yeah, I'd
way
say
more complex.
Little more complex. Yeah, it's more more layers and more. Has.
It's like Dream Theater.
Yeah.
None of you have a long enough ponytail for it to be Dream Theater, though. You get some guy with just like a giant
we're
ponytail.
working on it.
Yeah.
We can work on that. Oh,
yeah.
We're pushing real hard.
Yeah. You need a keyboard, too. You're missing one of those weird little keyboards that, it does the symphony sounds and stuff.
Oh, it's not weird.
I have to say, Dream Theater gets brought up like way more than I ever thought they would on this podcast. This is not the first time someone has mentioned Dream Theater. I don't know why. Like, just for some reason, this in 2020, people keep making Dream Theater references, and it's kind of awesome.
Whoa, they're coming back, baby.
Like with the new songs, they're like the idea was to keep it simple. I think the arrangements are a little more complex.
Oh yeah.
Like the music, and then if you got a simple bed, then you can kind of use that as a springboard to make the song more interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like add a lead part here, do vocal harmonies on the other part. So that's the kind of complexity that we're adding.
Sure.
So straight ahead rock.
Yeah, agreed.
Have you done that to the older songs too? Have you gone back and kind of like added those layers to the older material as well?
Yeah, they're a little bit more. There's more added towards those too.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's coming along real nicely. Like we have the one, the single that's coming out in November, called "No Way Out." That's a remodeled old song, and then we have a couple new ones that we're going to work on. But then we're also going to dip back into the catalog again, and revamp one of the old popular tunes again. And it's fun because we like playing the songs still. Like we're not tired of them. And
that's good.
Yeah, and just with adding new parts and cutting out this and shortening this or doing whatever, just changing a little bit about the arrangement and the feel, it just kicks ass.
Cool.
We're loving it.
Cool. Is it is it easier? Are you able to pull this off live? I mean, a lot of the time when bands are adding more layers and more complexity, it sounds awesome on the recordings, but then like it just adds an extra level of difficulty live that maybe can't happen. Like, do you feel like in your current iteration of the band, you guys can handle the extra level of difficulty or complexity?
Fuck, I think.
Well, we are a live band. You know what I mean? We don't do
too
many things in the studio that is so out of bounds. We're a live band. We're a club band, right?
Yeah,
so it's not going to be anything too out of bounds where we do something in the studio that we don't do live. It might sound a bit different just because that's the nature of recording versus live music, but
we're not making Sgt Peppers yet.
Yeah, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's still straight ahead. So
sure. So that's cool. I think that's the best kind of band too, where you can see them live and then listen to the record, and it's essentially you're getting the same thing, and it's not like a disappointment either way, right? You don't want to take someone's album home after seeing them live and listen to it, and it's like, what is this? This isn't even what I heard, or vice versa. Like, you listen to some
Hopefully
records.
it's not a disappointment.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are established enough, though, right? That you have, like, people know who the Bloodshots are, like in Winnipeg and elsewhere in Manitoba too, especially. And then you're obviously been making an effort to get the word out and get the name known and the songs known across the country. So, do you feel like you have a fairly strong kind of a hold on your audience locally? Like, do you have a good crowd that comes out and supports you guys on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's we've kind of been lucky like that, where I can remember when we started, or even 2 years in, and we're like, let's go do this show, and there's 3 people, and you in the background, and and it just a lot of people will get discouraged by that, but you got to just keep working your craft, right? Because you can only get better with time.
Sure, yeah.
You
hope so anyway. It's pretty bad if you don't. Yeah.
But we've definitely got a solid following where, you can just post a show and go to it, not have to force tickets down people's throat,
Yeah. It's a good place to be in.
Yeah. Winnipeg's still kind of weird, though, like that, with, I don't know, hit or miss. Sometimes you'll have a show and there's like, oh, fuck, there's 150 people here. And then you'll play another one, a couple of months later or weeks later or whatever, and it's 6.
And there's no explanation for it either, right? It's like one of those weird things where, it could be even a better lineup and you still have the 6 people. I bet for sure. Yeah, I think that's a universal Winnipeg thing. Yeah,
it is. One of the guys in Jet Set Satellite was actually, we were talking, they were at that festival too. And we that was one of the conversations we had. He was saying, he's like, Winnipeg is also the weirdest city in Winnipeg for live music. He's like, it can be like a packed house and it's like, wow, this city rules, what a good scene. And then you could go to another show the next night and you're like, how does this place afford to stay open?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. So for people, again, hopefully people listening to this episode have heard you guys before and they're already fans of your music and they want to hear what you guys are up to. But if they're hearing you for the first time, what's the best way to find out about what you're doing? Where can they hear your music? Where can they kind of follow you guys to find out what's happening once shows happen again?
Instagram is usually the best, followed by Facebook, because now they're linked together in whatever that thing's called. Business
some kind of evil business combine. Yeah.
I don't like it. Those two. You know what? Look up the Bloodshots Winnipeg on YouTube, and there's we're the whole first page.
Cool.
And Spotify.
Right now we only still got one song on Spotify, don't we?
Yeah, Hot is on Spotify. We released that one about a year ago.
Cool.
Independent, so.
We had some of our stuff up, and then we ended up taking it down. And then anything that's coming out now will be all through the label. So we're not publishing any of our stuff anymore.
Right.
So all the old catalog I don't think it's up anymore.
Okay.
Anywhere. I think we have the one up sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anything new that's going to come up is all coming through the label. So you won't see any of us like putting songs out or anything like that. It'll all be through Golden Robot. So
makes sense. Yeah. Do you still have old CDs floating around, or did you guys manage to sell all those off?
I don't even have one.
Yeah, those were gone really fast.
Nice.
I think we only did 500 of them, and they fucking gone in no time.
Collector's items.
That was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Sorry.
Collector's items. Yeah.
I had one once upon a time. I think I gave it away at a show or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we had to eventually sell ours.
I had hats and shirts and tons of stuff, and
you're wearing your own merch right now. I know people can't see that.
This one I haven't lost yet because this was a good one. But if anybody has any of my gear floating around there, and I'll take it back. There's a bunch of shirts and tons of stuff. So
right on.
Generous, I suppose.
Awesome. Okay, so I stopped recording here because Zoom is about to kick us out because they do this time limit thing. So